I am not Jesus. I am not God. As they talk, say they become, I not be God, not be Jesus, not be Christ, not be prophet. I'm Olumba. But I want everybody to live in the same level. You love one and everybody. That's what I wanted. The whole world. That's my mission.
In the forests of southern Nigeria, a movement was born that will call one man more than a prophet, more than a healer, more than a teacher of the word. To hundreds of thousands of followers, he was and still is God, walking among them in human form. They call him the sole spiritual head of the universe, the King of Kings. Some say he is Jesus Christ returned to earth for the eighth and final time. Outside this movement, many Nigerians barely know his name. So who was he? How did a man with no formal education, selling clothes in a Calabar market, become the center of one of Africa's most controversial religious movements? And why, more than 2 decades after his last public appearance, do millions of people still refuse to accept that he is gone? This is the story of Olumba Obu. Long before the white garment, before the crowns, before headquarters that would stretch across continents, there was simply a boy born in 1918 in a small farming settlement called Biakpan, a village tucked deep in what is now Cross River State, roughly 150 kilometers north of Calabar. His name was Olumba Obu. He grew up in a region shaped by 2 worlds colliding: traditional African spirituality on one side and Christian missionary teaching Christianity spreading from the coast on the other. He never received formal Western education, and as a boy, he was sent to Calabar to apprentice in the textile trade, and by his late teens, he was running his own cloth store in the Calabar market. But according to those closest to him, something else was stirring beneath the surface. While he traded fabric by day, he preached quietly by night. Drawing on the Bible, he did absorb from years around Calabar churches without ever formally belonging to one. No one around him knew that history was about to take an extraordinary turn, but according to his followers, the signs had already begun. As Olumba's reputation grew in Calabar through the 1940s and early 1950s, so did the stories. Followers claim that as a young child, a blind woman regained her sight the moment he was born. Followers claim that at just 3 years old, he declared, "I am the universal teacher." Followers claim he raised the dying, healed the sick, and knew what people were thinking before they spoke a word. To believers, these were not rumors, they were proof. And to the skeptics, and there were many of them, even in his own community, they were simply stories that grew larger with every retelling. Some neighbors admired him, others accused him of dabbling into something darker, whispering the word or cult long before the world outside Calabar ever heard his name. But whether miracle worker or market trader with a following, one thing was impossible to ignore: people were listening, and more of them every year. Something bigger was actually coming. In 1956, in a modest space on Eton Street, Calabar, Olumba Obu founded what would become the Brotherhood of the Cross and Star. 2 years later, on a single day in August 1958, his followers stepped into the street of Calabar in plain white robes for the very first time, a symbol, they said, of purity and separation from the world. By 1964, the organization had legal recognition from the Nigerian government as a religious body. What started as a small prayer gathering exploded, and by the 1980s, an estimated 600,000 followers called themselves members of the movement. And by the 1990s, that number had crossed 1 million followers, with Bethels as their churches are known worldwide, opening across Ghana, Cameroon, South Africa, the United Kingdom, France, and the United States. The Brotherhood of the Cross and Star taught love, forgiveness, non-violence, and a form of universal oneness. Humans, animals, even the earth itself, bound together as one creation. Many of the members adopted veganism, believing in the transmigration of souls between people and animals. They built schools, they ran job training programs, they gave to the poor. To outsiders passing through Calabar, the letters OOO, painted on homes, shops, and car windshields, became part of the city landscape. A quiet, constant reminder of just how far this movement had spread. But then came the claim that would shock Nigeria far beyond Calabar. Most founders of new religious movement called themselves prophets. Some called themselves messengers of God. A few throughout history have even claimed to be the long-awaited Messiah. But followers of Olumba Boo went further than almost any of them. They came to believe he was not a messenger of God. They believed he was God, the Holy Spirit made flesh, the final and complete reincarnation of a divine line that in Brotherhood teaching passed through Adam, Enoch, Noah, Melchizedek, Moses, Elijah, and Jesus Christ before arriving at last in him, Olumba Obu. Brotherhood doctrines holds that Jesus Christ's mission on earth was left unfinished, since it was cut short at the cross before he could fully deliver his teaching. In their belief, Olumba Obu returned to complete what Jesus Christ began. He himself, when once asked directly by a journalist who he really was, gave an answer that became famous within the movement. He said, "I am neither God nor a prophet, nor a church leader, nor an angel, nor Christ. I am that I am." His followers embraced this as a confirmation. Outsiders saw it as evasive and even troubling. To his community, he became known by many titles: the sole spiritual head of the universe, the Kings of Kings, the Lords of Lords. To critics outside the movement and to some who left the church, he became something else entirely. Accused in Nigerian newspapers and exposed books of practicing occultism, of leading what one best-selling 1993 book bluntly labeled an evil brotherhood. Two very different pictures of the same man, neither side backing down. And we have to understand that every movement this large carries tension beneath the surface, and the Brotherhood of the Cross and Star is no exception. Critics have long challenged the movement core claim that a man born without formal education in a small farming village was in fact the physical incarnation of God. Mainstream Christian dominations in Nigeria have publicly rejected Brotherhood theology as unorthodox and even heretical. In the 1990s, Obus made pronouncement that some followers understood to mean the physical world will end by the year 2000. And when it didn't, the date was quietly pushed to 2001. When that too passed without incident, the Brotherhood reinterpreted the teaching entirely, insisting it had never meant a literal apocalypse, only the dawn of a new spiritual era. Then came a crisis from within. In 2000, Olumba Boo appeared to hand leadership of the Brotherhood to his eldest son, known as Roland. But his daughter, Helen Ibum Udo, also claimed spiritual authority. This dispute divided the movement, followers splitting along loyalty lines, clashes breaking out between rival factions in Nigeria, and by 2006, lawsuits spreading all the way to the Brotherhood properties in the United States, where two more of his children fought each other in American courts over church assets. And then, the strangest controversy of all. Olumba Boo was last seen in public in 2003. Nigerian sources have long reported that he died that year, but the Brotherhood has never confirmed his death. Its spokesperson has stated publicly that their leader is above death. He is alive in what they describe as a dual nature of spirit and human. He is simply no longer required to appear before the public eye, they said. More than 20 years later, that question, dead or simply unseen, remains unsolved, and it may never be answered to anyone's satisfaction. Despite the controversy, despite the succession battles, despite the unanswered questions, the movement Olumba Boo built did not collapse. Today, the Brotherhood of the Cross and Star claim well over 2 million members, with active congregations not just across Nigeria and Ghana, but in Britain, France, Germany, Ukraine, and the United States. Its world headquarters still stands at 34 Ambo Street, Calabar, a site that continues to draw pilgrims from across the globe. For many watching from outside, the sheer scale is a surprise. A movement that began with one-man clothes store in a Calabar market now spans across continents. But the truth of the matter is that whether you see him as a prophet, a spiritual teacher, a deeply controversial figure, or something else entirely, one fact is hard to dispute. Few religious figures to emerge from Nigeria have inspired devotion on this scale. Even decades after his last public appearance, millions still address him as the sole spiritual head of the universe. And the question of who Olumba Boo truly was, whether a man, a might, or something his followers insist defies explanation, may never be fully settled. History is full of names that changed the world. Some became legend, others became mysteries that outlived them. Few remain as debated in Nigeria and far beyond it as Olumba Boo. If stories like this, hidden corner of African histories, are the ones you come back for, you are in the right place. Please make sure you hit on the red subscribe button so that you can continue getting updates anytime I drop entertaining stories like this. Thank you.